and welcome to Dual Horizons. In this episode of Dual Horizons, we are thrilled to feature John Quirk, the visionary behind SoCal Wellness Retreats. A 1,000-hour trained yoga teacher, meditation and fitness instructor, and Reiki master, John's expertise is enriched by training from global thought leaders. Explore with us how John crafts transformative wellness retreats, from digital detox to spiritual through holistic practices. Join us for a deep dive into wellness and enlightenment. And with no further ado, hello, John. Good morning.
Hey, well, thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. So why don't we just get started and give us a little bit of a background and why you're so passionate about helping people.
Yeah, for sure. So, my story is kind of filled with lots of twists and turns. It definitely did not start out in the health and wellness space. I grew up as an athlete, but really gravitated towards, in my adult life, kind of chasing the corporate ladder dream. And so I worked as a television producer and a journalist in New York City up until 20. So think deadline jobs in the most pressure cooked environment that you could ever find. I mean, New York City in and of itself is probably the most busy place in the world. And then you company, literally just being in meetings and on deadlines every single day. And so my life was just this absolute pressure cooker. And, when I stepped back from that part of my life, I really started to evaluate what was important for me. Because on paper, I had a lot of my boxes checked. I mean, I was working for the second biggest sports website in the world. I was covering the NFL, which was the biggest sports league in the world, our professional football league here in America. So on paper, it all looked pretty good, but internally, I was dying a slow death. I mean, I was really not having fun getting out of bed every morning, and the stress was taking a toll. I was having problems with my body and my sleep, and everything you could think of was kind of starting to go wrong. And so when I started to evaluate what was actually just bringing me any kind of joy, it was a pretty short list, and atop that list was yoga. And yoga was something that I really started as an offset to, kind of my workout regimen. It was kind of a little piece of, kind of getting my body right from weightlifting and running and all that. But the spiritual component sort of fascinated me. And once I got into the philosophy and once I got into some of the deeper layers of myself through meditation and through breathing exercises, I said, man, this is like really powerful. There's something here. So I jumped into a teacher training. I did my 300 or my 200 and my 300 back to back. So I essentially just went straight in. It's like kind of doing a graduate program, like almost a doctorate program in one shot. And so I was just all in, and for 2 months straight, that's all I really did was practice and learned about yoga. And then when I got out, I was like, okay, but now I need to make a living. So I started teaching like 25 classes a week, which I do not recommend to anybody. It's a lot of teaching. But I was at least on the path of doing the thing that I loved. And, once I started to feel like that was becoming a little bit too much, that's where the idea to really take people on retreats came from, is because I kind of needed my own retreat at that point. So selfishly, I was like, where can we go that's beautiful and relaxing? And, how can I create an environment of change for people that goes past just a 1-hour yoga class? And so a bunch of us flew down to Costa Rica. We went there for a week. We ate delicious food. We played in the sun. We, did a lot of yoga and breath work and meditation, but we, rode horses and we did some really cool stuff. And, I think it was a really bucket list trip for me, and it definitely was for a lot of the people that went. And so that really planted the seed of like what I wanted to do moving forward. And so I took trips then to Indonesia. I've been all around the world taking, people to really cool different locations, spiritual locations, adventure locations. And then SoCal Wellness Retreats was birthed out of my move to Southern California. It was a place that I had always wanted to live. I loved my time in New York, but I was really happy to be somewhere where you could be outside and in the sunshine and just really a totally different lifestyle. And so I wanted to bring people into this environment to expose them to, what was possible domestically, so they didn't have to go to like a Costa Rica or a Bali or something like that. So, we've been in operation for almost 7 years, and I'm really proud of what we've built. And, it's something that in just 4 days, we can really transform people's lives. Over 80% of the people that come to our retreats, when we ask them 30 days after the retreat, did this change your life? They tell us that it did. So, we've had people all different ages, all different backgrounds, people that have never done yoga, never meditated a day in their life. And it ends up being something that's highly impactful, but also can be really accessible to a lot of people. And that's really our mission statement is to create something that you can get a lot out of in a short period of time. If you're just really willing and open to say, hey, like I could use some help, I could use some support, and I want to do something more than just a vacation. I want to go to something that can really change the trajectory of my life. So, that's kind of a snapshot of where we are now. We still do international things, and I love travel. I love the experience of being way out of your comfort zone. But foundationally, breathwork, meditation, yoga, cold plunges, hiking. We don't do cell phones on the retreats. There's no phones for, the retreat, which is a really powerful thing. You mix
The
these all
digital
together.
detox, right?
Yeah, I mean, we really love to see people after 4 days of no phones, and how sometimes they don't like want it back. They're like, oh, like I feel so good. I don't want to like wreck it. You know what I mean? And so it's just a nice way to sort of see what your relationship with certain things like that are. And even, kind of creating morning routines for people is something I'm a huge advocate of. So we start each day, breath work, meditation, yoga, cold plunge, back to back to back. And it's just really amazing to see how people can pick it up in such a quick, short period of time. It's not super complicated, but it really inspires them to want to go make some pretty big changes in their lives when they leave. And I think that's something else we do a really good job of, is we help people and support people long after the retreat is over. So
Right. I want to talk about that because, I mean, that's obviously always something where you're saying, hey, you're coming for a few days. It definitely has a big impact. But how are we keeping those changes, right? Because life sets back in, we're turning on our phones again, we're back onto the busy schedule, and how are we keeping track on that? So maybe not right now, but let's definitely talk about that, on what your protocol is and what your procedure is in regards of keeping that onto our to-do list on a daily basis.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. It's something that, like I said, we're really proud that it's not just the retreat itself, but we want to give people tools, and then how do they execute when they are back in that environment of kids, job, calendar, timelines, all that stuff.
Yeah. So, but let's go back a little bit to the beginning. So when somebody comes, I mean, or before they even come, what are some of the big aha points? Look, I need this. Is it like something like what you alluded to on in your life, where I'm totally burned out, something needs to change? Give us a little bit of an idea. What are some of the trigger points, those thoughts in somebody's minds that would say, hey, I need some help. I need a SoCal retreat.
Yeah. So, I think it varies in terms of the circumstances, but as far as like the kind of the overall theme, the thing that we hear over and over again is we really see people that have poured a lot into something outside of themselves. So a lot of them are either caregiving for others. We see a lot of people actually, it's interesting, a lot of people that are in, the hospital space, the caregiving space, people that are really intently caring for others, or they just have kids, the job, like they're pouring themselves into things, but really have lost track of themselves and taking care of themselves. So, we see a lot of folks that are burnout is, a pretty typical thing. They're in need of a reset. Like that's definitely a huge theme and intention that people get. A lot of times too, we get folks that have kind of lost the zest for life. They've kind of lost the joy of like getting up in the morning, and really just they're going through the motions, but they're really lost the sense of like, what is it that actually brings me joy? So similarly, yes, like to like what I sort of experienced in that cathartic moment of like rediscovering myself. I call it my first retreat. Like I literally, left corporate. I got fired from my job. It was such a toxic environment that, when I left that environment, I was like, oh my God, like I can kind of do whatever I want. And so we want to offer people that space to really come to heal. A lot of people now are curious. They want to understand meditation. They want to understand breath work. And we also give a lot of the science too, which is really helpful. It cuts through the dogma, the conjecture. It really gives people something that they can latch onto and understand. And when people understand the how and the why of what they're doing, right, the process of doing it becomes a lot easier to buy into. And so we don't really have like a earthy, crunchy, woo kind of stance. We have a very practical, like, hey, if you're working 60 hours a week, if you're stressed with kids and job and responsibility, like we get that, and here's like a playbook of how you could take beautiful, ancient, spiritual practices and apply them to your day to day. So I think that's the biggest challenge is people don't have a point of entry. I think they're just overwhelmed with how much is out there too. And part of the reason why we love retreats is because now you step away from all of that stuff. So you're not trying to figure it out while you're trying to make dinner, while you're trying to do this. Like we take care of all of that so you can just be present and learn and heal yourself and grow.
Right. So that doesn't mean that necessarily people coming to your retreat on that like come back and say, "Oh my God, I need to quit my job. I need to change my life."
It does
really
happen.
some tools.
It happens a
It
lot.
does happen, right? Right.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it's tools and functional systems
Yeah.
that they can use even in their 60-hour work week if they have to continue and then maybe naturally make adjustments and changes, right?
Yeah, and you know what's wild too is like, you know, you look at the cell phone, right? It's such an interesting thing because it's a device, it's a piece of technology that's supposed to make us more efficient, right? It's supposed to help shorten the gap between cause and effect. But when we strip people back from their cell phone and we teach them meditation and we teach them mindfulness, the intuitive centers in the brain, the creative centers in the brain, and this is measurable, like we see an increase in how good people are at doing stuff, right? So it's like when you kind of take them back to the essence of themselves, they don't have this long gap between trying to like get everything done and compartmentalizing and all that stuff. They actually become more efficient. They actually become better at their jobs, better at being parents, better at being partners. And so the thinking, analyzing part of their life actually gets easier, right? So it's almost counterintuitive to us to do less to get more done. But science is showing, right, brain breaks, naps, you know, meditation, like these things are all making people much more efficient, better decision makers, not as kind of caught in the matrix of thinking and doing and thinking and doing. So, you know, when we can give people a taste of that in 4 days and then steps of how to implement it, it really is, again, that life-changing component where now they become just better at all facets of their life. They become a more well-rounded person and better at being all the things that they already are. We don't want to take you and try to make you a monk in the Himalayas, right? We want to keep you as the essence of you, but just make you a better version of that. And that's what I really strive to teach to people, is how to become the best version of yourself, not be dogmatic to me or my teaching style or try to copy some, you know, great leader or guru. It's like, here's all these buffet of things that you can try. How do you take this and be better? And let us help show you how you can do that.
Because I mean, for myself, for example, I really connect with guided meditations, and they're maybe just 15 minutes long. But for me, it's that 15 minutes that is better than doing nothing. And, you know, having that button that I can push on my phone, but, you know, with that guided meditation in my ear, that's something that helps me to kind of calm down and kind of disconnect from any other outside influences and do that. So what you're saying is exactly, it's kind of an a la carte menu, and people can feel what do they like. That you're starting with a breath work, doing maybe a 20-minute yoga session, getting ready before you jump in, and then in between, right? That's important too, that you create that consciousness and that awareness and the time out even during your workday, right?
100%. I mean, if you look at all these practices, right, whether it's yoga, breathwork, meditation, even exercise, going for walks, I mean, they're all really geared at trying to make you a better version of yourself, right? Like it's the mindfulness component, right? If you look at yoga, for instance, it's you know, we think of it sometimes in the West as contortionism or calisthenics or stretching, or that's like one little piece of the pie, right? The overall goal of it is self-realization, right? Is to be better at being you and to finding a connection to something greater than yourself, right? And people kind of get dogmatic about that, or they sort of think it's a God-related thing, or it has, you know, very little to do with that. It's your own self-realization, right? So, and I always tell people on retreats, like, I'm not going to tell you to leave and eat a certain diet or do breath work every single day or jump in cold water every single day. What those things are is really things that have helped me, like on mine, taking me from stressed out news reporter, you know, television producer to a guy who really gets to live in purpose and gets to, you know, help people and support people and runs his own business and has this really amazing, beautiful life. But I don't want you to take any one of those components and force yourself. I want you to really
Right.
feel what works for you so that you can take a scoop of this when you need it. You can take a scoop of that when you need it, and then really have enough in your arsenal that you're sensitive to knowing what you need and when you need it, right? Because to me, the self-awareness component is the ultimate superpower that we all want to advocate towards. Like for me as a teacher, I just want people to be better at being them and being sensitive to like what feels good, what doesn't feel good, what connections with people. And we get into energetics and quantum mechanics and vibration and how you can really get sensitive to that. But ultimately, that's all I want people to do. I don't want them to, anytime I get like one of those like 5 things you must do every day lists, I immediately like my brain just goes boop, and shuts off, because it's like I just don't think there's a one size fits all to this. I think everybody has to figure it out
That's
for
right.
themselves. Yeah.
Right. And everybody's at a different point in their life. So exactly.
100%.
So give us a little bit of an idea. How does your program work? Give us a little bit of a schedule. Is it like, do individuals come? Do groups come? Businesses? Give us a little bit of that idea.
Yeah. So, we start every retreat with an opportunity for the group to connect. So we do ice breaking exercises. We really want to help break down some walls for people. We do it in a really fun way. And so I've become an expert over the years of how to really create a safe container for people to be themselves, but also to really open up and dive as deep as they want to go. The science shows us that collective consciousness is real, right? There is a herd mentality. There is a power in people getting together and having a common goal, right? So when you get a group of strangers together, even though they come from all different walks of life, they're different colors, they're different ages. I mean, I've had 17 to 81-year-olds come on my retreat, right? But if you can get them sort of thinking and feeling the same way with a GPS coordinate towards wellness, just overall wanting to feel better, now you're really onto something, right? So foundationally setting up a container and a group sort of herd mentality. From there, each day we start 7 in the morning. It's nice to get you out of bed early. That's when melatonin and some of the really powerful chemicals are highest in your body. It helps us to pass the door of the analytical mind and get us into the limbic brain, into the creative centers of the brain. And so breathwork is just the most amazing tool that I've ever found. I've found people who've never meditated who in one breathwork session can have profound experiences of knowledge, of introspection, of healing, of really feeling like they get it, like they get how to get past that thinking part of their mind that all of us really can struggle with at times. We move from there into self-hypnosis and really deep dive meditation tactics. So once we're past the thinking mind, I want to show people how to go in and look at some of their thought systems and some of their belief systems and how they sort of decide to do certain things, because we can literally, like a computer, rewire our brain towards things like joy and love, and we can really create a homeostasis where we don't have to hope for those things to happen to us. We can literally program ourselves to feel that way, and now we actually become a magnetic, energetic attractor to those things. And these laws of attraction exist, and I talk about that when we do our afternoon workshops on quantum mechanics and energy and laws of attraction. And then once we, finish that part of kind of helping people to reprogram their minds, we take them outside and we move them in the sunshine. We practice yoga. We do elements of qigong. I really want to teach people how to embody feeling relaxed and present and calm while also having their eyes open and moving their body. This is the integrative practice of taking meditation and moving it to the outer world, to the outer environment. If you put people under a bit of stress, through the yoga practice, and then also getting them in freezing cold water is a really good way to put the body under stress, but you can teach them how to be relaxed and calm and present while they're doing that. Now you've really got a superpower, right? Like if you can show up in the world in any stressful situation and be relaxed and calm and present, you're really onto something, right? So we have this really robust 4-hour program in the morning that kind of flies by. People are like amazed at how fast it feels like it goes, but we get a lot done. Then we break for lunch and we have some downtime. So the afternoon is really for people to have space if they need to integrate, if they want to spend some time on their own. We also have an amazing team of folks that come in. They do one-on-one energetic sessions in Reiki. They offer massage. I also do one-on-one coaching where I take people down further rabbit holes of self-hypnosis and teaching them really how to rewire their brain and getting more into the personal aspects with them in a one-on-one setting. But those things are optional. They can sign up. They can take time. They could go swim. They could go hike. We have our own private hiking trails that people can and just go be out in nature. Then we come back together in the late afternoon, and that's for learning. So we want to teach people, here's what we did in the morning. Here's what happened to you physiologically. Here's what's happening in your brain. Here's what's happening in your nervous system. So again, we build a bigger model of understanding of what they're doing and why. So now they can lean in and understand it and get more out of it. Evenings, we break for dinner, then we come back and we practice a couple different techniques to really set the nervous system up for deep, restful sleep. So people a lot of times struggle to sleep or sleep deeply. We work with a process called TRE, tension release exercises, which works with the myofascial system. It works with the psoas muscle, really taps physically into the central nervous system to start to relax and calm the body and the nervous system, and teach them really simple breathing exercises that they can use right before bed. And so that's kind of a snapshot of like a full day. By the time the retreat is over, we have this amazing connection with everybody, so they get a chance to really share and open up about their experiences together. So there's a therapeutic, like a group therapy sort of element to it as well. And that's kind of what it looks like. And then of course each group, we get so many different people. The feel of the retreat can also often depend on whoever, sort of shows up. It takes it in sort of different directions. But yeah, that's our general flow.
Wow, beautiful, beautiful. And obviously on the Dual Horizon podcast, I always like to talk about how light workers like yourself are using technology. So obviously during the digital detox, there's a no-no of cell phones and all that stuff. But from a business perspective on the other side, obviously you have your website. Is there anything else that you use that helps you to reach people that need your help?
This is perfect timing, actually, because recently we just started scaling back the in-person offerings a little bit, not because we don't love them, but because we wanted to leverage the ability to connect with people in the digital space a little bit more, and then create more intimate containers to like work with them either one-on-one in small group settings, and change that trajectory, either getting them primed to come on a retreat or helping to support them after the retreat. So we're a few days away from actually launching 90-day coaching programs where people can integrate with our community. A lot of them will be alumni, of these retreats. So we just want to continue to build that group of people, that herd that I talked about, right? But give people more accessibility to myself, to the teachings, to our community. So that is literally on the horizon. But yeah, it can all be found at SoCalWellnessRetreats.com. We also have a social media presence, Instagram, Facebook. It's all SoCal, like Southern California Wellness Retreats. But yeah, we're really excited to close that gap and hopefully attract and find new people that maybe wouldn't know about us before, or just want to dive deeper. They want to know about the energetic bodies, the quantum mechanics components, the neuroscience. I'm a nerd for that stuff, so I really love to know how things tick, and how sort of people make really profound changes. So that's something that's literally days away from coming out. We're so excited to offer that to our community for sure.
Beautiful. All right, awesome. Well, we got your website. Thank you so much, John, for the insightful information. And hey, if you're stressed out and even you just really feel like you need a change and that little push into a more happier and more fulfilled life, reach out to John. John, thanks again for being on the Dual Horizon podcast. Until the next time.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your thoughtful questions and just all the work that you're doing in the world. And yeah, for anybody listening, I just want to say, if you're, kind of curious about doing that work for yourself and changing things, it just starts with a yes. It just has to be that first step, is just to say yes. So our team would love to connect with you if you're in need of some support. And yeah, really excited to have been here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.